Buenos días todos, okay? And also to be introduced, of course, by one of your own graduate, Camila Chavez, my daughter. And I have to let you know that after graduating from Ramos College, she actually was able to get a couple of very well-paid jobs here in the Bay Area. And so when I decided to start my foundation, the Dolores Huerta Foundation for Community Organizing, I was thrilled when she called me and she said, "Mom, I want to work with you." And I thought, she's not really going to leave the Bay Area and come down to Bakersfield, right? And at first she thought she could do, but then the board said, "No, you've got to come to Bakersfield," okay? And she did. So she gave up a very well-paying job to come down and help us form this new organization for community organizing. And I wanted to say a little bit about what we do, because Camila does, of course, most of the very hard work that we need to do there. And what I've done with this foundation, I've gone back to the kind of organizing that Cesar Chavez and I learned from a great human being named Fred Ross Sr., who taught us how to do community organizing. And if I say the word Tupperware, right, everybody knows what that is. And this is basically what we do. What we do is that we raise money, we hire organizers, we train them, and we send them into communities. And every organizer has to meet with 200 people in their homes, okay? And then once we get all these 200 people, then they come together and they form an organization. But then we've gone one step further, because then we make them organize in their own neighborhoods, right? So we have all these neighborhood organizations, and then every neighborhood organization, they decide, they assess their neighborhoods, they decide what kind of needs that they have, not only in their neighborhood, but in their community. And the results are just astounding. We have one of our neighborhood committees who decided they needed a gym at their middle school. The air quality in the southern Kern County is very bad. It's the worst in the nation. And kids had to go outside in that bad air to do their sports. Well, they passed a bond issue, and they got their gymnasium built with 71% of the vote. Another one of our committees said it's time we had a swimming pool. As you know, down there in that part of southern Kern County, it's over 100 degrees for over 30 days of the year. They got their swimming pool. They did that. Another committee decided they needed a sewer drain, because they had 26 homes that had these cesspools that would just fill up very fast, and the people are very poor. Their average wage is $15,000 a year. $15,000 a year. These are farm workers. So they got together and they bonded, and they went to the Department of Agriculture, Board of Supervisors, and they're going to get their sewer drain, and it's going to cost them $50 a family, right? And this is all done by them. And our idea is to build a base in every community. And so on the census, we had enough volunteers that they knocked on 3,000 doors in one day. On the census, in one single day. We have a great youth program. We're in the middle of a teen pregnancy prevention program, which we have actually called A Better Future for Our Youth. That's to fight the church, right? We don't want them to interfere. And we have a micro-lending program, financial literacy program, match programs where people can actually put money in. They raise $2,000, they get an additional $4,000, $6,000 for college, or to start a business, right? And all of this work, and needless to say, is done. 98% of the leadership are women, okay? 98% of them are women. Some of them elected to the school board. Some of them have taken over the water board completely. It took us a long time, about 4 years, to take over the water board, because they were, charging very exorbitant rates to people for their water. And the whole idea, so this is leadership development at the grassroots level, and they learn by doing. They learn by doing. This is how their leadership grows, right? By getting those petitions, getting up public speaking before the board of supervisors, etc. And we know that it works. It really does work. We weren't sure that it would, but it does work. So we are now in 6 different communities. We're in southern Kern County, south of Bakersfield. If I say the word Wheat Patch, those of you that read John Steinbeck, remember? Wheat Patch, same town, same conditions, okay? As in the Grapes of Wrath. And then we're also in Tulare County. So we know that this works. And of course, the only thing that prevents us from expanding is that we need more funding. We have gotten great funding. The Women's Foundation has been there from day one. This foundation, now we've got a branch from Kellogg and the California Endowment. And so, but we know that we can expand this model because we know that the only way that democracy works is if people get engaged, right? If we do not have people engaged at the grassroots level, then we cannot have a democracy in our country. And I think it's really imperative that we, in all of our university systems, that we really push for that kind of community engagement. Because you really don't know what the problems are, what policy changes we need, unless you get down there with the people that are being affected by these policies. For instance, I didn't know, and I bet a lot of you didn't know, that in order to get food stamps, you heard Camila say, the farm workers movement, we were built on food stamps, right? But now in today's world, to get food stamps, you have to get fingerprinted. I didn't know that. That's definitely a policy that needs to be changed, right? And so then they worry about why 57% of the Latino community and many large numbers of the African American community that should be getting food stamps are not getting food stamps because they have these onerous policies. Another one, people that have been convicted of any kind of a drug conviction, between our 50% of the people now that are in our prisons, that they can't get food stamps. Isn't that an invitation to crime? You know, I mean, these are stupid policies, you know, that we have to have. And so, you know, if you're not down there in the community, then you don't know what policy changes need to be made. You know, so we've got to get these partnerships. The other thing we know that we have right now a crisis, many crises in our country. We know that we have a crisis in education, right? And we know that we've got to reach into our communities to make them support and understand what the crisis in education is. Wonderful, Mills College is a private institution, and it's wonderful for the leadership development. But at the same time, we know that we've got to do a lot to save public education in our country. Right now, it's threatened. And it's a sad state of affairs when we look at the budget of California, and we know that your little brother, UCLA? The UCLA budget right now is smaller than the prison budget. It's smaller than the prison budget. And in the San Joaquin Valley, where Camila and I were, that starting from Bakersfield to Sacramento, since 1965, there has only been one university that has been built. University of California, Merced. Okay? In the same time, there have been 17 prisons. 17 prisons. So we know that our tax dollars are not going where they should be going. And we know who's in those prisons, right? It's black and brown and poor white. These are the people that are in those prisons. So this is all the work that we have to do. And I really loved the invocation that we had by Reverend Franny Hall. It was really, really beautiful. And all of the words that she said about that we have to always think about the poor and the oppressed. And these are the people that we who are fortunate enough to get an education. And you know, I always love to tell students, and now I will say this to the alumni that are here. And I say to them, if you had to go on a deserted island, like in Survivor, you know that television program, and they told you could only take one person with you, who would you take? An attorney or a farm worker? Remember where the wealth of the world is really created. It's created by the people that work with their hands, right? The farm workers and fields, right? You know, the people that build our cultures and our buildings and our cars and make our clothes. This is where the wealth of the world is created. And the professionals then, our job is to go back and to help the people, right, that really create the wealth of the world, to support them and to help them get better. And you know, and able to do that, and I love everything that was being said tonight. It was just feeding into what I wanted to say. When we talk about, President Holcomb said, women matter. But we have to go a step further. We have to say, women rule, right? Women rule. I'm on the board of the feminist majority with a great woman leader named Eleanor Smeal, who I know has been here to Mills often. And we did a feminization of power campaign after the last census in 1992. 3 of us went through the state of California, and we got groups of women together, and we said to them, all up and down the state, we have open seats here. You know, we have people maybe that shouldn't be there because they're not really supporting the feminist, not the women, the feminist agenda, okay? And And so we said to them, you've got to find somebody to run for office. And if you don't run, you've got to find someone to run. And guess what? They did. After that campaign, we had over 100 women running for office. And then the Democrats were very upset with us. One of my great friends said to me, what are you doing? Are you crazy getting all these women to run? I said, nobody ever said there were too many men running, right? And surprise, surprise, after that campaign, oh, by the way, the Republicans did the same thing. They saw the Democrats started putting women up to run, and so the Republicans started putting women up to run, and pretty soon we had Republican women running against Democratic women, right? But after that campaign, we ended up with 30% of the California state legislature were women. The largest number of African American women, the largest number of Latina women, and women in general. And one of those, by the way, one of those women that was elected during that campaign is now the first Latina Secretary of Labor, Hilda Solis. Okay? Delegation from California, by the way, is a majority of women, right? A majority of women to the California delegation, Democratic delegation. But what's keeping us from doing that? What's keeping us from doing that? There was a study that was done in one of the Eastern colleges, not males, because I know the results would have been different, but they asked 85 of the male students, how many of you are qualified to run for office? 85% said yes, we're qualified. When they asked the women students the same question, 30% said they were qualified. So that means that we have a lot to do. And one of the things that we have to do is we have to change the way we educate our women, not only to be professionals and to, make better incomes, etc., but also we have to kind of just disintegrate the way that our women are educated in our society. Because as women, and by the way, I would refer a book to all of you. It's called Beauty Bites Bees by Eleanor Stortland. And she writes in this, when we think about who are the most ferocious in the animal kingdom, the male or the female? We know the female now, right? So what happened to us then? Okay? We're at the top end of that. We're at the top end. We're supposed to be the most intelligent and the smartest. What happened to us women at the top of that kingdom, right? Well, because from the time we're little girls, we're told, no, don't get the white dress dirty. Don't climb the tree because you might fall down and hurt yourself. Are you wrestling with your brother? That's not ladylike, right? And then Walt Disney comes along, and what are we told? Sleeping Beauty, okay? Don't worry about a thing, because Prince Charming is going to come, give you a kiss, wake you up, and you're going to live happily ever after, right? And instead we have a pretender Prince Charming that comes, gives you a kiss, puts you to sleep, there goes school, there goes your career, and then baby's daddy's gone, right? And then as you get older, who knows, you might be traded in for a trophy wife, right? You're never secure. So we have to then really change our society and all of our school systems. And I think we've got to make this really a campaign. We've got to change all of our school systems to make sure that our young women know that, number one, they are going to have to protect themselves, support themselves throughout their lives, right? Yeah, because we know that it's not there. And then even as we sit here right now, a woman somewhere is getting raped, getting beaten, getting killed, because someone thought they owned that woman's body. And even though we think that we are so advanced in our United States of America, when we think of the gender balance and we think of the women in power and making rules, it's pretty bad. In the corporate world, I think we're down to about 3%. 3%. In our Congress, we're 17%. We're going backwards in the Congress. It'll take us about 200 years to catch up, right? And in the developed world, in terms of women in parliaments and government, the United States, we are number 70. Number 70. So that's got to be our campaign. And we talk about women in terms of positions, decision-making powers. And we know that if women are not there, I don't care whether it's, the city council, board of supervisors, whatever it may be, if we do not have women in those decision-making powers, they are going